What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Boys in the Zone. I'm your host, EJ Savage, and tonight I'm rolling solo, unfortunately. My guest had to cancel. No big worries. If he's watching, we'll just get him on another time. Anyways, we got to talk about this Cowboys-Giants game. They beat the Giants 49-17. I don't even know what would that be? 89-17. Quick maths here. 72 points. We outscored them. I think that's right. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, just an impressive game. I think that Dak Prescott has really been turning it on these past few weeks. We are just going to go through some of these highlight throws. This is one of the big ones here. From my boy Shane, dropped this on Twitter. What an absolute dime from Dak while getting crushed by Dexter Lawrence. So there's two big things on this play that I just definitely wanted to highlight. And the first is Zach Martin, obviously, kind of getting beat right there. Not very typical of Zach Martin, but man, Dak hanging in there, knowing he's going to get absolutely destroyed right there, stepping up into the throw, throwing it off when he look at that, boom, steps in. Gosh, man, that's just a terrific throw. So yeah, Dak, he's playing some really good ball. And then if you scroll down right here, and I'll bring this up so you guys can see it a little bit more. This is Dexter Lawrence beats Zach Martin right here. Dak Prescott not only just sits there and makes this throw, but he actually steps into the throw, floats it up, and hits Brandon Cooks on the crosser right here. And I wanted to pull him instantly after this play, says Falcon. Yeah, definitely. I was kind of the same way after this play, but it was such a beautiful play. And that distaste in your mouth if you're Dak Prescott, knowing that was your last play, if you stuck that ball in there and then getting pulled out and not getting to finish the drive would have been a little bit disappointing. But man, this throw, I just want to talk about this for a second because it is such a beautiful play design. And this is one thing that I think that the Vikings do really well about, is they use those crossing routes and they stack them on top of each other. This way, the CeeDee Lamb is coming on the, you can't even call that really a shallow cross. This is like a middle of the field kind of a cross right here. But what he is doing is he's making the safety pick one or the other, because if the safety right over here on top, I don't know who this is, number 23, I think, or 27 maybe. He either has to pick CeeDee Lamb right here in the middle of the field, or he has to take Brandon Cooks. And Brandon Cooks he takes, which is the right decision. But if he doesn't, if Dak had a little bit more time back here and he decides to take Brandon Cooks, Dak could fit this ball right in here to CeeDee Lamb, and that's a lot of open space right there. And if CeeDee Lamb gets the angle on this corner, or safety, I don't know if that's a safety or corner, it doesn't really matter, then he can be off to the races. I think that's just a beautiful play design and execution from Dak, stepping up into the pocket and making just an absolute dime of a throw. Also going to bring this stuff up real quick. So passing yards against man coverage thus far in the season for Dak Prescott. Passing yards, 948. He's first in that category. TD passes, 13 against man coverage. He's first in that category. Passer rating, 136.1. Completion percentage over expected. That's what that CPOE thing that you always see from the next gen stats being noted. That's plus 13.5% for Dak against man coverage, and then the success rate. So 6 times out of 10, Dak is getting a successful play against man coverage, and that's extremely impressive. So yeah, I just think that Dak is on a heater, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight, is Dak playing himself into that MVP realm of discussion? It ends up being a pick your poison type play. Yeah, exactly, Falcon. And yeah, I just think that there are so like, it's just overall just the amount of play design from Brian Schottenheimer and the amount of motion that we're using, which I'm going to get to in another tweet below this one. But just everything has just switched up from the bye week, and it's just this offense is really hitting its it's a high gear right now, and I love what I'm seeing because it's kind of what I've been calling for since early on in the season. We knew that it was going to be a little bit slow during that early stretch because the offense really didn't play in the preseason. So we gave him those grace period games. But then after that 49ers game, man, everything was underneath, but they weren't thrown in the middle of the field. I talked about that on a lot of my shows. They were just completely abandoning the middle of the field. And now they've kind of just given the keys to the Ferrari to Dak and just said, hey, listen, you're our guy. Just drive it, And I mean, it's easy when you got a Lambo on one side and you got another fast car on the other side with Brandon Cooks. Man, it's just awesome to see. And then it's right when I was, tweeting out something about Michael Gallup, he comes up with a big catch. And, just overall, your wide receivers are playing good right now. And so right here, you can see PFF's highest graded wide receivers for the week. Brandon Cooks at a 94.1. That is exceptional as far as grades given, from PFF. And then you got CD Lamb at a 90. So 290 wide receivers grades for your guys. And then I had to give a little shout out to Noah Brown because he helped me win a fantasy game this week. And then Mike McCarthy is setting in as Cowboys play caller in 2023. Remember wondering when pre-snap motion would be featured in Texas Coast? And versus San Francisco, he had 19 plays for 39% of the time. This time, or that time is now. Versus the Chargers, it's up to 62%. The Rams, 56%. And then Philly, 54%. And then this last game against the Giants, it was up to 61%. So, this is what I've been harping on our offensive minds in the building to exploit, because when you get your best players in advantageous positions, you get your CD Lambs in motion, and you get your Tony Pollards or your Kevontae Turpins, you freeze the linebackers, and you also get a tip on what kind of coverage the defense is playing. So I don't know why you wouldn't use motion as much as possible, unless you're just trying to go hurry up and you're just trying to get a playoff. But it's just one of those things. Mike McCarthy is just now getting into the groove of being a play caller again, and he understands he has to evolve as a play caller in today's NFL. And the best way to do that now and combat what defenses are doing is use the pre-snap motion, and he's doing it really well right now. Then got to move on to this little tweet right here from Next Gen Stats. And it was just saying Dak Prescott completed 11 of 14 passes over 10 air yards for 271 yards and 3 touchdowns, recording the highest completion percentage over expected at 34.5% over 10 air yards of any quarterback in a game over the last 2 seasons. That was worded weirdly, so sorry for me stumbling over my words. But anyways, 34.5% over 10 air yard throws. So that's crazy. If you're a plus 10% over CPOE, you're really cooking. So 34.5% is just out of this world, really. And you can see his passing chart right there for touchdowns. He has 3 of the touchdowns for for over 10 air yards, and one of them that's literally like 9 air yards. So Dak is just he is playing himself into this type of MVP discussion, and I think it has to be discussed in a nuanced manner, because really, if you throw out that Niners game where he had 3 interceptions and only 1 touchdown, Dak has had a 16-2 touchdown to interception ratio for the season, and man, that I think that just speaks for itself. You talk about the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. You're talking about the Josh Allens, the Patrick Mahomes, if you want to throw Jalen Hurts in that realm of talks, and then Joe Burrow. He's playing just as good, or if not better, than all of those guys currently. And I think that it's one of those things that, it's hard for me to say like, oh, he's for sure going to have this many touchdowns in the next few weeks. But just looking ahead in the schedule, you play a really bad 1-8 Panthers team. Then you go on and play, who else is that other bad team? Let me just search it up. It's escaping me right now. Dallas Cowboys schedule. Panthers, then we got the Commanders, and then the Seahawks. That's right. So, yeah, and the Panthers, the Seahawks are a good team. I wouldn't say they're a great team. And then you got the Commanders, which their secondary has struggled as well. I just think that don't be surprised if Dak has, in the next 3 weeks, 7 touchdowns possibly, maybe even more. I mean, I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility, but averaging like 2.2 touchdowns per game is completely in the realm of possibility. And I truthfully, with how he's playing right now, and I'm biased, of course, but I would give him the MVP. And you can say Jalen Hurts if you want to because they're 8-1 or whatever. But just pure based on what the quarterback is doing, I don't think that there's another quarterback doing what Dak is doing. So hey, put my boy in the talks at least. I'm babysitting this beer over here because I'm riding solo and I'm just talking so much. But let me get a swig. Another thing that I just wanted to bring up overall is, and I wanted to ask the chat this, and I'll get to what you guys are saying in chat as well. But who do you think is on the bigger heater right now? Do you think it is Dak Prescott, or do you think it's CeeDee Lamb? Of course, CeeDee Lamb breaks the record, 3 straight games with 10+ catches and 150 yards. That guy is absolutely on the same wavelength as Dak Prescott. He's just playing at a level where he's not thinking, he's just doing. And when he's just doing, it's reminiscent of the Oklahoma Sooners, CeeDee Lamb, and man, that's exciting because then you get the yards after catch stuff happening, and oh man, it just makes me super excited. And then when you have a player that's like a CeeDee Lamb right now, it's playing at this level, it forces defensive coordinators to try to bracket cover, double cover him, and that opens up plays for a Brandon Cooks and the deep shots and Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks. I got to shout out Jalen Brooks. He had some good catches in that game. So let me get us to chat here. Cooks is finally playing like the man the Cowboys wanted when they traded for him. Excuse me. Both can't really have one without the other in that regard to me. And yeah, I agree with that. I think that the reason why I would give it to Dak right now is because Dak's whole entire job is so dependent upon the people that are blocking in front of him and having a run game. Dak is doing this with basically no run game right now and lackluster pass blocking. And that's why it's a little bit more impressive to me than what CeeDee is doing because and not taking anything away from CeeDee, I think that he's for my money, I said this last week, I think, on my show, I said that I would still take Davante Adams over CeeDee. I think that this year's CeeDee Lamb is over Davante Adams. And yes, Davante Adams doesn't have a quarterback throwing him the ball. But man, I just, what CeeDee is doing right now, it's hard not to recognize. And I think that he's definitely a top 5 wide receiver in the league now. And that's just, it's fun and it's exciting to think that the Cowboys have a top 5 quarterback right now and how Dak Prescott is playing, a top 5 wide receiver, and how CeeDee Lamb is playing. And then you got another really, really good wide receiver in Brandon Cooks if he starts to get going. And, with the defense, I mean, you have, I'm super, like, I want to stay in the moment and be, like, excited for right now. But with how Deron Bland is playing, I am so excited to see what a Diggs and a Bland cornerback duo looks like next season. And hopefully my boy Diggs can get back and play to the same level that he was this prior season. But man, that's going to be super exciting. And I can't wait for that. But anyways, I see my boy Official Manny B in the chat. EJ was good, my boy. They needed to figure out the 1-2 punch with Rico and Pollard. I agree. I think that it's so hard because I think that with fans, everybody sees like running back 2 as like, give this guy more chances because he's fresher. He's not asked to hold up as much in pass pro. Gets, more exotic run looks, like more outside looks and stuff like that. Doesn't always have to, punish up inside and stuff like that. So while I am hesitant to say that Rico should get more touches than a Tony Pollard, I do think that he has better vision right now, and just he's seeing the holes better, and he's not just seeing the holes better. He's getting into that little hop step that running backs do at whenever they first get a carry, and then as soon as they see the hole, then they explode out. I just think he has more juice right now, and I don't know if that's Pollard, not getting all the way back from his broken leg, or if that's Pollard kind of just not trusting the holes as much because the blocking really hasn't been as good as last year. Or yeah, last year. But whatever it may be, I think that you got to figure out the running back position and the appropriate carries for both of those guys, because I think that Rico has earned more reps. And it's sad for Tony Pollard because he's one of those guys that's on the franchise tag. He's gunning for a bigger contract and a security with his team of the future. And for him not to be able to capitalize on this big moment where he is the running back one, it is kind of sad. So I just hope he figures it out ultimately. Falcon says, I want Bland to move back into the slot, actually. It's so hard because, like, for me, I think that you go into the draft and you look for a guy that has that flex, that they can play outside or in, because you know for a fact that Bland can do both. So if you find the guy that has that flexibility, you can put him into the slot role, which isn't as taxing early on in your NFL career. And, you're not always going to stick in the nickel package, even though it is a lot more popular in today's NFL. You do take your slot off the field sometimes, so he's not always playing every single rep, which allows him to get rest, which allows him to get better. It allows him to get onto the sidelines and get more coaching. And that's why I kind of want that position flex between outside and inside with the cornerback we draft in the draft next year, is just that ability to get coached up, or if he's so much better on the outside, then cool, we can move Bland back inside. But if he's good in the inside, then I would rather keep Bland outside, because I think that Bland outside, what it does is it just allows him to read and react so much better playing with the ball in front of him. So that's why I would keep Bland where he's at. I just think that 5 interceptions this season, I think he has 10 overall throughout his career now. And you pair that with what Diggs has already done, he's a ball hawk as well. It's just going to be super, super fun. And you've already locked up your guy on the back end in Malik Hooker, that is a free-range safety that can cover a lot of field. So, I'm really excited to just see that more. Eric says, McCarthy should start Rico this week just to light a fire under Pollard. It's hard because, like, I think that Pollard is, I don't think that he needs that, like, fire lit under him. I think that he's on that contract year where he's, he wants to, put out the best foot forward, but it's just not happening right now. And I don't know if that's the broken leg, like I said earlier. I don't know if that's the doubt in his mind creeping back in, or whatever it might be. I wouldn't do that just because, you're going to need Pollard. He's still a special back. He just needs to figure things out, and you got to figure out his workload. I think that when Skip Pete said this last year about, hey, Zeke is our main back because Pollard can't handle the reps, I think everybody wanted to be like, bro, come on, you're feeding us this bull crap. Jerry Jones told you to say that, blah, 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 blah. But maybe there was a little bit of truth to that. And I don't know that everybody's completely on board and ready to admit that. But I think it's kind of come to fruition a little bit that he's not the same back when he's asked to carry the ball 20 times. He's not the same back coming off of a broken leg. He's not the same back when the blocking isn't good enough. And, hopefully we can get that stuff figured out. But it's one of those things that only time will tell. So that is what I had for basically the Twitter tweets and stuff like that I wanted to highlight. I do also got to bring up Mozzie Smith. I think that His explosion off the snap is very, very slow still, and he needs to pick that up. But overall, man, I think that he had an impressive game, especially in the run department. Um, I thought that he was actually pretty good in rushing the passer as well, which is surprising because I really like John Michael Schmitz out of the draft, the center out of Minnesota that plays for the Giants now. But there's some growing pains with him as well. He's a rookie and he's not playing with a good guard tandem surrounding him. So I just had to give Mozzie a little bit of shout because I have been very hard on him, just knowing that I had a late second round grade on him and he was drafted in the 20s, first round. So definitely wanted to shout that at. Got to bring up my guy LVE. He's looking like he's going to be out for this season, which is very unfortunate. I think that LVE kind of had a strange career, I guess. He had that all pro, or no, it was not an all pro, but it was a Pro Bowl season that first year, and he was the Wolf Hunter, and everybody was excited after they were like, you really drafted this guy in the first round, a linebacker. And I was one of those people too, don't get me wrong. But he comes in and he plays really good, and he's a Pro Bowler, and he's making a lot of plays in the backfield, tackles for losses, and a few interceptions in there, and he's looking like he's going to be a really good player. Then the injuries and stuff like that, they creep in, and it's reminiscent a little bit of Sean Lee, because I think that LVE was really, really starting to understand the game and understand the little nuances and stuff like that. But right when he started to get that to this like head level of this high, that's when his body was at this level, and they just could never meet. And that's the sad thing, because you never want to see a player that has so much potential and so much want to get better for their body to ultimately be the thing that keeps them from being that player that they want to be. So shout out to my guy LVE. Best of luck if you do retire, my man. Once a Cowboy, always a Cowboy. You're always part of Cowboys Nation. We'll always support you in whatever endeavors you have in the future. And if you want to try to kick the tires and get back back on the playing field, man. I don't know if it's going to be with the Cowboys, but best of luck to whatever situation you go on to in the future. And yeah, Bot G is just kind of saying, yeah, LVE's going to retire after this one, and I kind of agree. Just unfortunate. And then also had to bring up CJ Goodwin. It looks like he's going to have season-ending surgery. So we probably won't have him, or we won't have him back for the remainder of the season, which he's a special teams ace. Funny enough, Sam Williams has kind of filled into his little role as a gunner and stuff like that on special teams, which is funny. But yeah, I wonder if Bones Fossil is, and I don't know if you guys saw the news, but Kelvin Joseph was released from the Miami Dolphins. So I wonder if Bones Fossil was kind of like, hey, let's go kick the tires on Kelvin Joseph again. Like, we know him, we know what he's about, we know that he can play special teams. And not only that, guys, but you guys kind of have a slot problem on defense. You don't know what you have in Jordan Lewis right now. He's kind of looked iffy. Boss Man Fat was looking decent in training camp in the slot position. Like, should we bring him back? I kind of wonder how that goes. I wouldn't feel either way about it. Truthfully, I think that he's had all the talent, and I saw it at Kentucky whenever I scouted him too. I had a second round grade on him as well, so it took him right where I thought that he should be. I just think that he's one of those players that it's weird. Like, for the cornerback position, you want to have a lot of confidence, and I think that he has like that fake confidence. Like, he's all talk but no bite, like all bark but no bite kind of a guy. I don't know. Might be completely wrong on that, but I just think that he doesn't believe that he's that guy in the deepest parts of his heart to be that guy. But I think that the talent's there, so you just got to pull it out of him, whether you bring him back or not. Boots is saying Marquise Bell has been a revelation. He is the better linebacker. I would agree. I think that Marquise Bell has played uh, really, really meaningful snaps at linebacker. My only problem with Marquise Bell is he's like 220 pounds, maybe. Like I'm not even sure how much he weighs, but I know it's not a lot. And what that does as a smaller linebacker is, yes, you can cover better, but when you meet a team that's a bully team like a Philadelphia Eagles, like a San Francisco 49ers, it hurts you at the linebacker position. And when you have to take on 300-pound blockers that are getting pulled from the offensive line and getting to that second level, um, we'll see how it rides. I think that our offense is going to be a lot better against the Niners this time, and the defense is what or not this time, but if we meet up in the playoffs, is what I'm trying to say. But the defense is the thing that's kind of got me worried a little bit, is just like, what do you think you can do better than what you did in the first matchup? You had almost all of your guys minus Trayvon Diggs. Now you've lost LVE. I guess you can say Bland is more settled in. We'll see, but ultimately it comes down to who you play in the playoffs and how healthy they are. I think that health is the main thing that you have to look for in the playoffs. So Mark McDonald, what up, man? That's my guy over there. We met at the first, I think that was the first at least, official Cowboys Cave, sorry, tailgate party, and had a lot of fun with Mark and just chatting up and talking. He almost hooked me up with some better tickets, but I had to stick with my wife. She's pregnant, and she ended up needing me too, because well, I won't put her on blast on the show, but yeah, Mark is just saying, I think Dak has to move it up more. Sorry, the heart is right in the way. Move it up one more notch against San Francisco. We will play them again. Yeah, I agree. I think that, like they always say, I mean, it's styles make fights, and with whatever reason, San Francisco, and I think the main reason is because they have a very, very cerebral, smart linebacker duo in Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. That really, really gives Dak fits, because he doesn't ever know that they don't give him the tips and the tells from the linebacker position to let him get a tell on what the defense is trying to do. And I think that's the biggest problem whenever he goes against the San Francisco 49ers. But yeah, he has to play better against that team, because he's capable of it. We've seen it these last few weeks that he is a very, very good quarterback. He's he's playing like an elite quarterback right now. I probably wouldn't call Dak an elite quarterback, but he's playing like an elite quarterback. So we just have to see it more from Dak, and just see it against the better teams. Continue to gel, continue to get Mike McCarthy in the flow as an offensive coordinator and play caller in this new era of NFL offense, and against new NFL schemes and defenses and stuff like that he hasn't seen. So it's a time thing, but right now it's starting to hit a mid-season form. You always hear about that term, but it's starting to get there. So it's really exciting from that standpoint. So Bot G Eric also brings up, our defense is gelling better now. Also, Cowboys will scheme better against the Niners, and I agree with that. I think just from week 4 or 5 when we played the Niners till now, I think that the Cowboys are just a much better team, a much more complete team. We still have to get the running game going. We still have to figure some things out when it comes to the front and our offensive line. But overall, I think that most of what we want to do as an offense now is coming to fruition. We're getting Brandon Cooks involved. We're getting some of the younger guys that we've wanted to see what they have, a Jalen Tolbert, a Jalen Brooks, Kavonte Turpin. Hopefully he can get back healthy. But we're getting those guys involved, and we're giving less reps to Michael Gallup. And in those short little amount of reps, he actually made a difference. When you have a guy that's struggled with injury in the past and isn't the same player, and you ask him to only have 20 reps or whatever it was, he's allowed to go 100% again, and he's allowed to play free and and know like, hey, this is my only opportunity to get out here and do something, so I got to make the best out of it. I think that that's good for Michael Gallup and his trajectory for the rest of his career. It's just allowing him to sink down in that depth chart, but really being really good in the amount of reps that he continues to get. And maybe he can get back to the position that he was, 2018, 2019, where he was a really, really solid number two. But if you asked me to put money on it, I probably would say those days are over. But MG is one of my favorite players on the team, and I really do hope that he gets better and continues to grind and if it takes extra hours with Dak or whatever it might be to get on the same page and just be better overall, it's worth it, because I know that when that guy is fully healthy and when that guy's right, he's one of the best sideline receivers in the game, and he's a physical, big, dominant X wide receiver, and it's far and few between in the NFL right now for those guys. So Mike McCarthy changed up the offense. I think that the Texas Coast put out the window. I think that the Giants game was like the practice. They were just trying everything to see what worked. I think that and I brought this up before you got in here, Mark, but I just, whoops, where am I at? So right now, since the Niners game, the Cowboys have almost, I wouldn't say quite doubled it, but 20+% on pre-snap motion looks, and that stuff just helps you as an overall team, and just scheming your playmakers open. And since CD has complained about him not getting the ball enough, the offense has looked so much better. And I think that's a result of Brian Schottenheimer and Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. Like, hey, we got to get this guy the ball, and we got to make a conservative effort to do it each and every single game. But yeah, and just hedging into the next conversation, I do want to talk a little bit about what CeeDee Lamb is doing. 3 straight games with 10 plus catches and 150 yards. I just think that, you've got to respect him as a number one. You got to respect him as a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And quite frankly, is there a round, like with how we've saw Zach Martin fall off a little bit this year, could CeeDee Lamb be the best offensive player on our team now? I think that's a legit discussion, especially with how he's playing. I mean, Dak Prescott has been playing absolutely out of the world, so he has an argument for that. Definitely, Tyler Smith has an argument for that. I think that he's been playing exceptionally well since coming back from injury, and you got some young guys that are making an impact. Now we just need another one in the draft to really solidify our offensive line. But I'm excited for what this team has in the future and moving forward. But I'm ultimately just trying to stay in the moment. And man, I do want to talk a little bit about this Giants game though. Shout out to my boy Deron Bland for getting the 5th interception. I just think on all cylinders, minus that interception from Dak. I mean, since if you throw out the Niners game, and I brought this up earlier, 16 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, one of those interceptions was a tipped ball, and then the other one was just, baited, just terrible interception, just uncalled for. I don't know what Dak was looking at, and I roasted him on Twitter for that. But beside the point, I mean, if you look at what he's done, it's incredible. Now, I do have to bring up Micah Parsons. He seemed a little bit off. He seemed a little bit mad, and I brought this up the last show, was just saying, like, this is one of those games that you go into your the locker room and into the meeting rooms and tell, like, hey, we're gonna build that lead, and then it's fun time. It's hey, you get this stat, you get this stat, you get this play drawn up for you, and it's fun. The players look forward to it. And I think that Micah Parsons kind of missed out on that and kind of felt a little bit salty about it because of what he put on Twitter. Him just playing linebacker snaps and all this stuff. He came on to his show the next day and said, hey, I'll do whatever the team asked me to do. But I think there's a little bit of saltiness there, and I think that he's kind of feeling the pressure of a Myles Garrett and the other big defensive players of the year candidates, kind of separating that gap a little bit from Micah. And I just don't want that to become a problem. I think that Micah is too good of a player to worry about other players' statistics and their accomplishments, because your ultimate goal as a player is, you know, winning the Super Bowl. Nobody cares. Like, yes, I won't say nobody cares. People care about individual statistics, but when you think about the GOATs of the games, of whatever game you're talking about, they always bring up championships. And I think that's really why Aaron Rodgers isn't in that GOAT discussion, because just talent-wise, Aaron Rodgers is probably the most talented quarterback to ever play the game. But he's only won one Super Bowl versus a guy like Tom Brady that has 7 Super Bowls, and his stats are comparable. So just get to that promised land. Etch your name in not only football history but Cowboys history, man. You said you wanted to go to Dallas on draft night. Go and make an impact each and every single snap, and don't worry about your stats. Don't worry about the defensive player of the year, because that stuff will come if you do it the right way. Getting back to chat here, so that's awesome. Wish I could have been there. Micah needs to step up. Myles Garrett gets double teamed too, and he still puts up the stats. Micah getting everyone else loose, which I think is a plus for the defense. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, yeah, if you guys have looked at any of the metrics and stuff like that, Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons get double teamed far more than any other edge rusher in the league. The difference between the two is not only a different weight class, different arm length, but Myles Garrett, he's been there, he's done this for so long. He knows how to win in different ways. I brought this up in the last show too. I just don't think that all of this manufactured stunts and stuff like that Dan Quinn likes to run with just his 4 defensive linemen is advantageous to Micah Parsons getting the stats. I think that the stunts and stuff like that allows for other players to get, cleanup sacks and stuff like that. That's why you see a Dorrance Armstrong getting a sack, or a Neville Gallimore, or whoever had sacks last week or last game. I can't even remember, but I don't know, man. It's weird because, we all praise Dan Quinn for always putting Mike in the best position to succeed, but at the end of the day, I don't know that he's doing that right now. And I just hope that kind of changes in the playoffs, because you saw it all last year with Nick Bosa. DeMeco Ryans really schemed up Nick Bosa and allowed him to get off, because he knew that, hey, this is my special player. I got to scheme my special player to get those one-on-ones and use the wide 9 stance to get him these rushes where the guard can't help over without allowing the free rusher from the middle. So all of those things kind of work in cohesion and together, and I think that it starts in the defensive coordinator position and it floods all the way down to the sidelines, and that's where you get that frustration from Micah. Micah getting okay. So Mark says, but they'll make it like Rodgers won 8 Super Bowls. Yeah, the true Mark, that's true, Mark. But I need to see more from the rest of the D line. Even Mozzie started getting his numbers up on run stops. Yeah, I brought up Mozzie earlier as well. I think that Mozzie, he's still really slow off of the snap. And that will come in time, I think. I mean, he's an athletic guy, so I don't really understand why he is so slow getting up and getting going. But if he figures out like snap counts and stuff like that and really gets a nose for the football, he's gonna blow up a lot of plays in the future. So I'm excited for Mozzie. The reason why I just didn't like the pick is simply because I didn't think it was a win now type of a pick. And I've said this on Twitter and all these other things. Like, you picked 3 of the most least important positions with your top 3 picks: a defensive tackle, a tight end, and a linebacker. Those are not money positions. Those are not, highly paid guys for a reason, because their impact on the overall football game, unless you have a truly elite player at that position, is minuscule. And that was my big problem with that draft class. Getting back into the chat, I think Micah is more of a hybrid in Garrett and Bosa natural pass rushers. Yeah, I agree. I think that Micah is more of a situational pass rusher. Um, but I think that the difference between that and Myles Garrett is I think that Micah has to win a different way. And he can't always go to like these pass rush gurus that are like um teaching these Jadavion Clowneys and Miles Garrett's and Nick Bosa's of the world because Micah has a different body style than those guys. And that's why I really, really want him to get with a Von Miller and start learning under him because Von Miller was another guy that kind of won similarly to how Micah wins with that speed and the bend around the edge. Didn't have the longest arms, didn't always, spend a super long time getting technical with, hand tech and stuff like that against the offensive tackle. They just really just won because they were just quite frankly better. I think that that's what he needs to do because he needs to understand how to set up moves more so than use the strength and stuff. And we've seen Micah has strength. He freaking picked up Mike McGlinchey and threw him down to the ground with one arm. So he has power. Don't get me wrong. I just think that he has to find out his way to win. And I don't think he's found that out quite yet. So that's where I'm at with Micah Parsons. He's still a really good football player, and I'm excited to have him on my teams. Looking forward a little bit to the Panthers game. The Panthers are 1-8. Their only win, I think, came against the Texans, and it was like 15 points they scored in a win. So I don't think that anybody is, chucking this up as like, oh, we can go in there and just sleepwalk and when we can beat this team. But at the same time, man, this is not a good football team. If you shut down Adam Thielen, which reminds me, I need to take him out of my lineup for this matchup. If you shut down Adam Thielen, they don't really have any wide receivers on that team. Sure, they have Jonathan Mingo, which I believe was like a second-round pick out of Ole Miss. I wasn't too fond of him, but I know a lot of other people really liked him. They don't have very many guys that scare you. They have Miles Sanders. I don't even know if he's playing right now. They have Chuba Hubbard, who's an okay running back. I really don't even know their team. This is just off the top of my head right now. I mean, yes, they have the first overall pick in Bryce Young, but he's looked like, he needs help around him. He doesn't have the greatest protection, and we saw that really early in the season. They were like, the protection is absolutely terrible. We're just going to pull you, Bryce, and we're just going to play Andy Dalton. And I just think that Bryce Young, he's one of those players that are special, and he can create nothing from something, or something from nothing. Mix my words there. But overall, I just don't see him being good enough to beat the Cowboys, especially with how the Cowboys are playing right now. I mean, the only saving grace is that they get to play us at their house. But overall, I think that the Cowboys look for them to beat this team by at least 13, and I'd be surprised if it wasn't even more than that. And this is a Cowboys home game. Is it a Cowboys home game? I thought that they played at the Panthers. Yeah, Cowboys at Panthers. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I just think that, oh damn, Andy, like I want to see this game. Yeah, that would be pretty funny if they actually let Andy Dalton start, just for, just to let him start against his old team. But at the end of the day, man, it's one of those things like you don't want to overlook an opponent, but they're just not good. They're just not good. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know what else to talk about. Man, I had all these great questions for my guest and stuff like that, but he canceled on me. So I was like, well, I can't cancel my show completely. I got to do something. But yeah, I just think that with how the Cowboys have looked overall, I think they're hitting that mid-season form, and it's weird because like everybody wants to clown on the Cowboys for beating bad teams by like 30 points, whatever. If it was so easy, why does your team not do it? I mean, just a simple question. Why does your team only win by, 3-7 points, Eagles fans? Your team hasn't blown anybody out all season. So I don't understand why you guys are talking. But I digress. I digress. You guys beat us earlier. Um, questionable calls, but you beat us earlier. We'll see what happens at home. We got 12 straight at home now, so we'll see. What is my Cowboys grade so far overall for the entire season? Um, is this like a letter grade or like a 1 to 100 grade? Um, hmm, hmm, hmm. I would. It's so sad because I really think if we had Trayvon Diggs right now, this defense would be like historically good. Um, and then I would obviously say like an A plus now that the offense have kind of got going. But I think I'm gonna go with a B minus because it was like it started off with with the defense playing exceptionally well. Early on in the season, the defense looked very, very good. They were not even allowing any points for I don't know how long, minus the big Garrett Wilson touchdown, and um, they just looked so good, and they were creating turnovers and stuff like that. Now that's kind of tapered off, and it's kind of flipped the other way. The offenses look so good, despite a running game, despite the offensive line not being as good as it has in the past. It just simply comes down to Dak Prescott. And that's why I wanted to put him in the MVP conversation, is because you take Dak off of this team and you insert Cooper Rush, this team maybe has 3 wins, despite how many other great players we have. Maybe 3 wins. And I just think that's fair. Dak is playing so good right now that it's it makes me super excited for just these next 2 games for Dak just to keep on going, man. Because Washington, they let up like 40 points a game. I don't know if you guys know, Washington was supposed to be a really good defense. Their defense is not good, and their offense is actually pretty impressive with Eric Bieniemy. Sam Howell has been pretty good at times, but he holds the ball way too long and he throws interceptions. So, whenever I look at that, I'm like, how does the Cowboys capitalize on defense? They get to the quarterback. If your quarterback holds the ball too long, we're going to get to your quarterback. And then if your quarterback throws interceptions, we're going to create turnovers on your quarterback. So, I really like the matchup against the Commanders, and especially now the fact that we don't have to play Chase Young, or whoever else they got rid of. I can't even remember his name right now. So, yeah, I just think that the Commanders game is one of those ones where everybody's going to talk about, hey, man, the Commanders have played the Eagles really close and blah, 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 blah. They're a really good divisional matchup here against the Cowboys. And then I don't think it's going to be close. I really don't. I think that Sam Howell is probably going to have 2-3 interceptions, and Dak Prescott's going to have another really good night against that secondary. So, you put it on me. If I'm completely wrong and the Commanders shock the Cowboys, but just right now, I just think that the Commanders are just a good matchup against the Cowboys. One thing I will tell you that's an interesting matchup for the Cowboys, and this one's a little bit later on in the season, is the Lions, because the Lions are a very good offense. They're a creative offense, and they have a really good offensive line. They can slow down the Cowboys' pass rush, and that's why I'm kind of worried a little bit for the Lions, is because, and I'm not worried that their defense is good enough to stop our offense. I just think it's going to be a shootout, and when it's a shootout, kind of like it was for the Chargers versus the Lions, it comes down to whoever has the ball last, kind of a deal. So, and Dan Campbell, he has some kahunas on him, so he's not afraid to go for it on 4th down. He's not afraid to, challenge, certain stuff. He's one of those kind of Nick Sirianni kind of aggressive coaches, and I think that Mike McCarthy has to match that same aggressive nature from a Dan Campbell, from a Nick Sirianni in the future. So, and that's why I really do believe this. I think that if you can flip it and you can be the aggressor as a Mike McCarthy against a Kyle Shanahan, and you play that tight game, Kyle Shanahan is not a risk taker, and that's where I think you can get some over on him. Is he's not willing to match the same aggressiveness. So you got to be willing for that matchup as well. We should beat the Bills depending on the weather, says Mark. how do you think we do against the Bills in Buffalo next month? Says Manny. Yeah, I think that the Bills, I think they're out of the playoffs right now, as it sits right now. Um, it depends. Like I've said this over and over and over. It really depends on which type of Josh Allen you get that night. If it's really good Josh Allen, you're probably gonna lose. If it's turnover worthy Josh Allen, you probably win. Like that's as simple as that. I think that they go as Josh Allen goes. I think that he's really missing Brian Dable as his offensive coordinator. He just has never been the same since losing him. Been more turnover prone, and Diggs doesn't seem happy there. Gabe Davis, I thought was always kind of overrated as like this deep threat. Dawson Knox has been, kind of demoted a little bit more now that they got Dalton Kincaid in there, and Kincaid has been solid. But overall, man, I'm not scared of their defense, especially with the players that they have out with White and gosh, why is the linebacker escaping my head right now? Him and then one of the safeties I believe is out. So, um, I just don't see the Buffalo Bills being able to beat us. But it's all hinging upon which Josh Allen you get, truthfully. And I'm hoping that the really good Josh Allen shows up against the Eagles, and I'm hoping that we get the bad version of Josh Allen. I hope it's not flip flopped, but we'll see. You guys got me babysitting this beer over here. I can't even drink it because I'm talking so much. This is why I need a guest. So when I have a guest, I can have my little bit of drink breaks in between. Um, but I felt like I should just roll solo. Haven't done a solo one. Hyde may still be out with the neck stinger. Yeah, Micah Hyde. I actually do want to say Micah Hyde played last week, but maybe not. Either way, their defense has not been the same defense that we've been accustomed to with the Doug McDermott defense, and that's kind of one of the things, um, with the Bills is, he is a defensive-minded head coach, and their defense doesn't have the players for him to kind of take his thumb off that for a little bit and just do the head coaching thing, and they're missing Brian Dable, and you saw that with. I think they let go of their offensive coordinator today. So the Bills are strange. I just, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. Um, so I'm glad that the chat is rolling here, and we're all friends in the chat, and we all know it. That's why Cowboys Nation is the best, man. We all tune into other people's shows, and we get to know other people, and we just chat it up and just talk ball, and so it's fun. Um, shoot, I might just end this. I don't know. I was going to do a little bit of scouting, and I guess I could bring you guys into some of this scouting. So if you are interested in scouting players and stuff like that, this is a fun thing to get into if you don't want to pay money for the all 22s. And I can send this to you on Twitter, but this is cut-ups and stuff like that they have. So let's just roll down so you can see down here. Oh, I guess it doesn't show on your guys' screen. But anyways, you can press the wide receivers, tight ends, whatever you want to check out at the bottom of the screen, and you can scroll over to whoever you want to look at. Let's look at, we're just going to go find Marvin Harrison Jr. because I know that he's going to have a lot. Or actually, let's just check out Egbuka because he's another wide receiver that I really like. And we'll press this, and I'll turn the volume off. So this is broadcast view. This is how I first started scouting and getting into this stuff, is just watching broadcast views. The more I got into it and started being really interested, I started to pay some money to get all 22 footage, and that's not even that much a month, but it's fun. And what I like about this stuff is these are cut up. So this is showing all of the passes thrown to this specific player. And this is a really quick way to get familiar with a player and not have to watch all 80 something snaps from them. And so it will highlight the player first. It'll show, boom, there he goes, drops the ball. Or did he catch that? You can see Marvis Harrison in the triple stack right here. Comes up, works on the deep cross. and he catches it right there. Good play. See right here, off the curl in the middle, boom. And this stuff is, it's one of those things that's really easy. And like I said, I'll send you this link, and you can get onto this Google sheet, and you can start kind of scouting with the cut-ups and stuff like that. If you want to go more into depth and you want to do the all 22, I can get you guys information on that as well. And that's not the one that I want. This is the one that I wanted. All right. And so I see JJ McCarthy being brought up in the chat. And so we'll just find him, JJ McCarthy, boom. This is going to bring up all the 22, or not all. This is just the stuff that's been dropped right now. So we can see he has the Rutgers all 22 up. We can pull this up and we can start playing it. And this is going to show the entire game's worth of all 22 footage. And we can scout JJ McCarthy right there, a little bit late on the, what is this? This is the tight end coming. Just working on the shallow. I don't even know where the tight end was at right there. Or was that a wide receiver? Let me go back. I wasn't even paying attention, sorry. I think it's this guy that just comes out here. Yeah, just on a quick out. A little bit late on the pass right there from JJ McCarthy. Drives the ball nice, just needs to be out a little bit wider. And this is how I do the eval when it's especially wide receivers. You definitely want to watch them on the all 22 because they're not going to get every pass thrown to them. And so you need to see what they're doing downfield. Looks like JJ McCarthy kind of, gets sacked right there. What's up, KHY001? What up, man? Just kind of going through a little bit of everything, man. My other guest canceled on me, so I'm just kind of bringing up some all 22 footage of JJ McCarthy and just watching that and just hanging out with my guys in the chat and talking. Anyways, my wife's over here interrupting me. So yeah, and if you're interested in this all 22 stuff, or you kind of want to get this footage and just learn how to scout basic, everything realm, I guess. It doesn't have to just be quarterbacks and all that stuff. I am going to be starting to drop. I think I'm going to try to go for like Thursday nights on this stuff. If anybody's interested in that, and we're going to probably look at least 2 prospects per night. I don't know if I'm going to do like 1 offense, 1 defense, but I just want to hit 2, especially more like the big names, or if you guys have your favorite players that you guys want me to watch or whatever, I'll also look at that. This is a cool little designed play right there. Dang, that was actually pretty wicked. Let me see what that was. Hold on. Looks like a handoff to the running back, then a wide receiver pulled, and then he pitches it to him, and then it pitches it back to the quarterback. Yeah, that was pretty sweet. Pitches it back. And who's that? The inline tight end right there? I guess that's must be a wide receiver. 18 was earlier wide receiver. Play action right there. Makes the right read right there to the running back. Anyways, I'm not going to do a full scouting report. I don't even have my pen and pencil and stuff like that. And how I do it, I have a little checklist on what I look for in players that I like specifically. So for my wide receivers, I like quick, twitchy wide receivers, guys that can win through route concepts. I like them to have good hands. I like them to meet the ball with their hands. Don't let it get into their pads, stuff like that. Those are all little things that I just check off quick. And then if I see repetitive stuff, what I'll do is I'll make a note of it. And that's how I build my scouting reports on these guys, and continue to go into that stuff. But yeah, if you're interested in that, hit me up on those things. Shoot, I don't even know what else I'm doing. I guess maybe I should just join this little group right here, NFL Dallas versus Panthers, on the Twitter sphere. Just join one of those. So anyways, KHY, sorry that you're late, man. just all over the place type of show. But it was a fun time. And if you get a chance, go ahead and rewatch it for me. Leave a like on the video. If it's your first time tuning in, subscribe. And usually I have a guest in here doing it with me, and it's a lot of fun. And you know, we take questions from the chat and just talk Cowboys ball. So yeah, if you haven't never been here, leave a subscribe, leave a like, and a comment on the video, and we'll catch you next Tuesday. Thanks.
Yeah. Forget what you got, none of it matters until you don't work from the top. I'm talking non-stop, squad. They've been down with me for years, and none of them asking for squad. Fire, out of the gutter, don't stutter, I'm taking my shots. Block, out the noise, some others, my brothers and me, we going off. Bippity pop, talking that ish, I'ma empty my